All right, Mennonite meme review. For those of you that don't know, there's this thing on the internet called meme review, made popular by a guy that you've never heard of because you're a Mennonite. But anyway, people have taken the concept of a meme review and applied it to their specific genre. So whatever memes fit their specialty, then they do it. I happen to have made a few memes on the Mennonite genre, and they're not bad. So I'm going to go through them and explain what they are and why they were made and what they're referring to. Because I have found that my sarcasm can be subtle and people don't often get it. All right, first meme is the Mennonite hymns and contemporary Christian music. Basically, at any point in time, there is a Mennonite church somewhere fighting over whether to sing hymns or to sing contemporary Christian music. Now, there are plenty of schools of thought on this, and I want to do a video at some point explaining the merits behind both because people argue it quite awfully, and it's not great. All right, so if you don't know what Rook is, it's a card game that apparently became famous because Mennonites weren't supposed to play with playing cards back in the day, and so it's big in the Mennonite community, different Mennonite communities. But they play it all the time. I've played it a few times, not a big fan, but they do this thing. They analyze the past hand and everything they could have done wrong and everything they could have done right. And I'm sitting there just like, ah. So if you watch a Rook game, it's gonna be mostly people lamenting what they have done or what they should do. That is the extent of conversation between Rook players. This was I don't know if this was my first controversial meme. This was the branch into where let's just go full bore, hit them between the teeth. So this is referring to the anti-vaxxer thing. So people ask me, Ryan, are you anti-vax? And usually I'll just tell them that no. I tell the doctor to stick them twice just to make sure they're covered. Because I've heard the anti-vaxxer arguments, and most of them are awful. There are a few that are like, okay, fine, that's worth addressing. But then it just doesn't seem to stick when you address it. So this meme is the anti-vax committee meeting. They're all meeting together to discuss whatever. Now this is a fairly controversial thing because there are a lot of Mennonites that don't vaccinate or are anti-vax, and yeah, so it's just. Now we know what Ryan's position is. This was my first meme, and it was funny. So, do we as Mennonites overuse calls for self-evaluation? If you've ever been to at least one of my church's Sunday schools, and it happens throughout my conference as well. So it's like they'll take a principle, and then without fail, do we as a church consider this, or how do we apply this and it's a fair question because the general concept of teaching is that you give the lesson, you teach the principle, and then you apply it. All right, so this is depends on what denomination or what conference you're from. It's meant to be a controversy that Mennonites would at least understand and maybe giggle a bit. All right, so it's not so prevalent, the thing against college in my conference, but you hear people talk about how people are so against people going to college and how it can be seen as a bad thing in the Mennonite conferences. And so this was cool. So the first thing is I bought a red card and went to the theater. These are considered taboo in certain Mennonite conferences. So, and it depends on what church sometimes as well. So the theater was traditionally frowned upon, and the red car is more reference to the black bumper Mennonites, which I am not, but if you're a Mennonite, you're going to understand that reference. And the idea being that college is such this mortal sin that the usual sinful Mennonite has fled the man that actually went to college. All right, this one took a heap ton of work because my Photoshop skills aren't that good. So you remember the Rook game that I was telling you about? People have devised heathenish and morbid ways to play the game, not as it was intended. For example, there's this Rook is meant to be the high card. That's just a fact. And so, but people will play it differently into where they don't want this dominating card. So they'll say, well, Rook is mid, which I think puts it between the 10 and the 11. So they take what was meant to be on high and just putting it average, which I think is a little bit of blasphemy, in my opinion. So this is a very common meme among the English. I had to change it to make it Mennonite. So I had to take the two ties out, had to take the wedding ring off of this guy here, and I replaced the alcohol with IBC root beer. Fun fact, when I was a senior in high school, we would sell snacks to raise money. We were not allowed to sell IBC root beer because it had the appearance of evil. So I wrote a whole blog on that if you want to do it. I'm not scarred. Yeah. Mennonites, when we see fantasy literature, when we think it's allegorical. True story. I was at a camp or a get together or whatever, and I was with one of my cousins, and we were watching. I don't know what it was, but it was like it was a tribe of women. Think Tarzan genre. So is there like a princess warrior? I'm really showing my Mennonite right now. Oh, come on, the Amazonians or something. Anyway, watching this, and the dude's mom comes through and sees this really sketchy TV show, and the kid goes, my cousin, he's like, it's an allegory. And she walks away. Blew my mind. And so you see it a lot more clearly in the Lord of the Rings bad, Chronicles of Narnia good argument, because Chronicles of Narnia is indeed an allegory, whereas the Lord of the Rings is not. And so the same thing is okay, it just depends on whether or not, or what its intentions are, which, fair enough. I just think it's funny, and I like to laugh at it. Yeah. So if you happen to be part of the heathenish wretches that sing contemporary Christian music, you probably, that was sarcasm. Did that come through? That was sarcasm. You probably have the slide thing, it's up there, and you don't sing, so I don't know why it's up there. But anyway, so you're listening to the guys singing on stage, and the words are up there, and then there's some bloke in the back that's hitting a button and changing the slide so that, you're done with one slide, and then go to the next slide. And then the song leader is up there, and he decides on a whim whether to continue to the next verse, whether to sing the chorus over again, and it's a mess. So, and I've been the guy back there on the slides, and you don't know what he's going to do. Are you going to go to the next slide, or are you going to go back? And it's quite stressful because everybody has been in a church service where there's this dude, and he's singing the song, and the slides are just going blip, 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 blip. There's this poor dude back there just smashing the button, trying to find the right slide. All right, this one was good. It was subtle. So this is this ties into the wedding ring a little bit, because that's where I was coming across the idea and kind of thinking about it. So the church is the last authority on the Bible, and then hold my beer. Hold my beer is a modern expression which basically means, oh, you think that's stupid? I'm about to outdo your stupid, or in general, or outdo whatever you're saying can't be done, etc. So the Mennonite church started with the Reformation in general, saying that, hey, the Pope's not the final authority. We don't agree with that. We believe the Bible is the final authority. We're going to follow the Bible, not the Pope, or also not that church authority. And you can mess with that a little bit, but that's the general case. But now the Anabaptists, because of their, or the Mennonites anyway, the Mennonites and the Amish, because of their emphasis on being separate from the world, have developed a really authoritarian culture where the pastor is the final say. So you do this because the church says it. The Bible says this, but you follow the authority of the pastors. And so we've definitely, in many instances, come away from that whole the Bible is the final authority. So this meme was to just prime the waters. If I ever come out and say, hey, the church authority is doing something wrong because the Bible says this, at least I'll have tested the waters a little bit with these memes, preparing them for a rebellious rant on this or that. Yep. All right. That's it. I got to make more memes. Yeah. All right. Hope it's been good. Please don't be offended. Like and subscribe for more content. I'm not out of the house as much because a lot of my free time where I would go out and sightsee and whatnot is now taken up with college starting again. So I will see you guys next week, hopefully with an outdoor video, because watching me talk to a screen can't be that exciting. And hi, welcome to the end title screen. Smash my face to subscribe. And there's 2 other suggestions that you probably won't enjoy, but I'd risk it. And applied it to their John. And start.